All right, YouTube. This Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. It's Wednesday morning, and we seen the debate that we all been wanting to see. Now, I've been looking at a lot of other takes on it, so I'm going to share with you my take on the debate and the situation. As far as the debate goes, it was pretty much boring because they were saying the same things that they always say. You know, Kamala was saying the same thing she says. Trump was saying what he says. But the interesting part about it is it reveals something about this country, about the voters, and the state of the mentality of the American citizens. I know the average American citizen that's working, between going to work, taking care of their families, they very seldom get to watch and follow news or do a lot of research. Some who are exceptional, who have the energy, the stamina to do it, they do it. But most are uninformed. And this is why it's so easy for them to be trapped in identity politics. Because if you identify with someone, you give them the benefit of the doubt. And the reason that identity politics works in the Black community is because most of the time, Black people will identify with anything because their history in this country has undermined their real true identity and their sense of self. So they are inclined toward people who may look like them or people who may say they sympathize with them because they like to trauma bond with a candidate. Think about that. People are trauma bonding with elites. You know what I mean? Kamala Harris is an elite Indian woman, but she can speak to the trauma because she studied the trauma from being around Black people and being in those sororities with Black people. She's heard their trauma stories. She's heard about their victimization at the hands of imperialism. You know what I mean? So she taps into that. She taps into the racial situation, the misogyny. She taps into all the stereotypes and acts as if she's going to be different. But when you look behind the scenes and you see she's married to this rich, powerful Jewish man with ties to Israel. So we know he's going to be running the country because the only time a man is not in charge is if the woman has a little bit more power than him and can sway. But by him having his own money and his own status behind the scenes, he will be running the White House. Now, people were dissatisfied with Trump because his hands was tied. He didn't want to be called a racist. He didn't want to be called misogynistic. So he had to really kind of play nice and couldn't call her on a lot of different things that he should have talked about. He should have talked about how she kept them men in prison past their out date. She should have talked about how she was arresting truant mothers. He should have talked about how she's been Indian up until this point, but he couldn't say that because he was swayed by public opinion, which wasn't a good look. At this dark hour, and as divided as this country is, nobody is convincing anyone else of anything. You know what I mean? Households are divided. The community is divided. You know, the average Black man in America that watches the rallying for Kamala, in his mind, he knows that Black women are voting against him. They want him put in a place. You don't believe me? Think about it. They are voting against the interests of their fathers, their husbands, their sons, because deeply rooted in them is that I want to be in power over you. And if I can identify with her, she's going to bring me closer to some type of power that I will have over you. That's bad in a community because that's the truth of the matter. You look at all the high emotion surrounding this election. It's a lot of emotion. It's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of hatred. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ungodliness about it. I was looking at the statistics. Do you know that for us to be as small a community or minority as we are, since Roe v. Wade, black people are responsible for 21 million unalives of babies. Since Roe v. Wade, 21 million babies have been destroyed in the womb in this country. Now, you think about that and the drugs and the crime and the overall mental state of American people. It made me think about scripture in the Bible that America has become so wicked and so demonic as a place that we are going to get the type of leadership we deserve. A wicked people always deserve wicked leadership. So we can just go on and say that, put that out there. We're going to get, as a country, the type of leadership we deserve. You know, and that's in scripture, that's in the Bible. What, I mean, think about this. This election is boiling down to unaliving babies, which they call women's rights. Unaliving babies all the way up to the 8th and 9th month, tampons in the boys' bathroom, open borders, gender re-identification of children at a primary school level. And we're talking about just in our politics. We ain't even talking about in our day-to-day failings and shortcomings. You know what I mean? Some person may drink alcohol and they have a problem with alcohol. Some person may drink syrup or some other type of drug because they have a problem. Some people may smoke cigarettes, some people may smoke marijuana or whatever. And this community and society is a heavily self-medicated country. This is why you see the problem with fentanyl. This is a self-medicated country to escape the realities of their condition. It's like putting your head in the sand like an ostrich, but you leave the rest of your body exposed. When you look at the debate, you see political theater. You know what I mean? I've never seen Kamala so scripted, and I've never seen Trump so docile. They both played nice, and they both were advised on how they should present themselves to the country. But at this point, this country is so divided, so wicked, that we will get the type of leadership that we deserve. And the women who are rallying behind Kamala are mostly feminists, disgruntled baby mamas, men haters, or just a dissatisfaction. Because to put that much support in someone with her history and track record and from a whole nother nationality is it's like spite. Everything about this election cycle reeks of spite. No true compassion. Who cares about the future of the children? Because at my age, the policies that will come out of a Democratic uh, party will only affect me for the next couple of years. They won't be able to take Social Security this quick or whatever. They're coming after the children. They're coming after the children because as a collective, we don't care about the children. I mean, people care about their own children as individuals, but they don't care about their neighbors' kids. They don't care. You know, that's why it's so easy to forget one tragedy, one trauma after another. And then the next week is forgotten. Next week is forgotten. But imagine this 10 times worse. Imagine what it really looks like another 4 years of this, another 4 years of the lies, another 4 years of the trickery, another 4 years of the hatred, the contempt, and the spite. It's going to be something. It's going to be something to witness, really like the end days. And I would suggest that you stay fit because it's going to be survival of the fittest. Like when you study Friedrich Nietzsche and you study those philosophers, and they talked about survival of the fittest in the last days. This is where we're at. If you're not fit, you will not survive. If you can't defend and protect yourself, you will perish. It's going to be that simple. Because as divided as this house is, it cannot stand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some clips from the debate, and we're going to watch to see what the takeaway is. This for fair usage of the 1976 Copyright Act for Education and Commentary. Tell me what you think of these highlights.
Presidential candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump meeting on the debate stage for the first time.
Kamala Harris, accept the debate.
Have fun.
Thank you.
The vice president walking to the former president's podium to shake his hand in Philadelphia, the two standing just 6 feet apart. From the start, the gloves were off.
Tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling.
Trump punching back.
She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well.
The stakes could not be higher for tonight's debate. The two candidates locked in a dead heat in polls. The economy and inflation on the top of American voters' minds. Trump laying the blame on the Harris and Biden administration.
We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%.
Harris responding.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century.
Like the Trump-Biden debate, tonight there was no studio audience and the microphones were turned off.
Hi, excuse me, miss, hello. What if I told you I could get you some money right now?
I wouldn't believe you.
And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad that she can't get away with that.
Harris responding.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
The debate turning personal.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that.
Trump claiming Biden was pushed off the Democratic ticket.
You talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her.
Both candidates getting heated when discussing the issue of abortion, an area of vulnerability for the GOP.
Her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me. Hence the vote.
ABC News fact-checking the former president.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Harris, after reminding Americans of Trump's role in selecting members of the Supreme Court who overturned Roe v. Wade, went on the attack.
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and in asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
According to a Pew Research Center study, a majority of Americans believe abortion should be legal in all or most cases. President Trump hammering the Biden administration on the border, an area of vulnerability for Harris.
There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in. And all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here.
Harris defending her record, pointing to the bipartisan border bill that Trump killed.
That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
At one point, Trump repeating debunked claims about immigrants in Springfield, Ohio.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals.
I'm going to interject right there because at this point, you know, of course they're calling Trump a lie, but he didn't make that up. Those have been reports for the last several weeks. For the last several weeks, if you be on the internet and you see the stories, there's even been a guy that confronted them at a city council meeting about him eating ducks at the park and things like that. So that's not something he's making up. And when they use the wordplay that says there's no credible, that means we didn't catch him in the act, so it didn't happen. But that's going on. Y'all know that. Y'all know that they eating some of that. They eating some of that stuff. Trust me.
Within the immigrant community.
Both candidates going after one another. Harris needling Trump about his rallies.
You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there.
ABC News anchor Lindsay Davis challenging the vice president on her changing positions.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made.
Tonight was crucial for both candidates, but for Harris, it was her biggest stage yet as she reintroduces herself to voters. Recent polls showing nearly a third of voters say they still don't know enough about her. While tonight was her first presidential debate, she did not hold back.
When you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact.
Trump launching attacks on Harris's record.
She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Tonight was Trump's 7th presidential debate. Less than 3 months ago, he was on the debate stage facing off against a different candidate.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Shortly after Trump survived an assassination attempt, then Biden dramatically ending his bid for a second term, passing the torch to his vice president. Polling shows Harris and Trump locked at a tight race. A New York Times CNN poll found Trump leading Harris by 1 percentage point. The former president's support holding steady despite a New York jury finding him guilty on all 34 counts, falsifying business records in the Stormy Daniels hush money case.
I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
Trump responding.
I'm winning most of them, but those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department.
Tonight's debate coming amidst prolonged conflict in the Middle East. Israel, a controversial topic.
She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself.
After the debate, Taylor Swift endorsing Harris, writing in part on Instagram, "I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them." With the election less than 2 months away, the impact of tonight's debate can't be underestimated.
I'm going to interject here because, I mean, maybe to most people, it doesn't seem like a big thing. But how can abortion be that important in a so-called Christian nation? I mean, when we look at what the people and the citizens are really divided over is good and evil. I mean, I don't know if a lot of you read the Bible or you may read the Quran, but the Bible and Quran as religious books are clear about roles in society, is clear about what kind of hierarchy was ordained by God. And what I'm seeing, and people may not see it like that, I see people who are voting against God, voting against Christianity, and voting against a hierarchy, even though they claim to be that very thing. They claim to be Christians, but everything about their lifestyle is demonic. So it made me think differently about this election cycle. I believe that the American public will get the leader and president they deserve as a chastisement, because at this point, this is a very wicked nation. You know what I mean? It's a very hateful, spiteful place. And people may deny that, but that's only a denial. And being in denial, people can check their own hearts and see the discontent, the dissatisfaction. Just look into your own heart. What are you dissatisfied about? What do you think you deserve? What are you settling for? Why is your heart so cold that you can't hear a word or see a word that's righteous and stand on righteousness? It's a lot of problems in this society, and this debate and then the whole atmosphere of this election season is showing that. So you almost have to really say it's out of the citizens' hands. At this point, people are going to vote for who they're going to vote for. If you voting for Trump, nothing about that debate changed your mind. If you voting for Kamala, nothing about that debate changed your mind. They didn't say anything new. Neither one of the candidates said anything new. But what they got a chance was to show the division, to show the cheering of. It's almost like going to a fight, a boxing match. You have the one you want to win, and you will cheer him on no matter how bad he punishes the other individual. That's the same thing going on with this election. They want, each side wants their candidate to win no matter how much it upsets, disturbs, or punishes the other people. That's why a house divided will not stand. This country, right about now, is on a downward spiral. Because Trump made one point They're in the White House now. They could do something about the border. They can do something about things right now. But like I said, you will get the leadership you deserve. And you will get a chance to see your children slaughtered. You will get a chance to see chaos. If you're my age, you'll get a chance to see it on your way out the door. You know what I mean? But you will get a chance to see the destruction that you're voting for. So, like I said before, it's going to be survival of the fittest. Stay healthy, stay strong. Don't count on anybody to protect you or defend you, because that's not the type of society you live in. You live in a society now that has become so demoralized, so immoral, that it's beyond saving at this point. You know, how, I mean, you study the history of Rome and how Rome fell. Rome fell because of the open borders and the debauchery, anything goes mentality. That's what you're seeing. And it's free falling. And you can listen to this debate and you tell me in the comments what you got out of it. What stood out to you?
What matters is what the voters think. But in the end, right now, he is tied with Kamala Harris. Does this change anything? You have to be very careful, and it's very important to see what the voters think. When we come back, our powerhouse.
So that's it for my take on it, because it was the same. I mean, I don't know if anybody expected anything different. If you expected Kamala to come out there like Joe Biden, fumbling and bumbling, her handlers weren't going to allow her to do that. And if you expected Trump to come out being abrasive and insulting, his people wasn't going to let him come out like that. His handlers weren't going to let him come out like that. What you seen was political theater over the lives and minds of the citizens who suffer from apathy. Apathy. Because with everything going on in the society, people don't care. I'm telling you, if you look at the news and you look at what's going on in Detroit, every week there are missing children. People don't care. They don't share the post until their kid come up missing or something like that. Then they care. But other than that, they don't care. So you're pretty much on your own with this one, or like-minded individuals. But the debate didn't prove anything to me either way. It just showed me the level of cognitive dissonance and the level of division in what you call the United States. The United States is not united. Homes are not united. Community is not united. Everything is divided. And the thing about it is, no one wants to get to the reason it's divided. This country is traumatized and is trauma bonding. This whole country is trauma bonding. And if you're not the person that is trauma bonding with someone else, then you will be the victim of the discontent and the contempt that comes from an unhealed, falling nation that's free falling. And that's my take on it. You disagree? So be it. Put in the comments, be respectful. Signing to you out of Detroit. This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Support the nonprofit, Detroit's Black Thought and Action Collective, and support the channel. You guys know, that's my subscribers. The channel is shadow banned. So you need to support the channel. If you're not a member yet, become a member so that you can get notifications. There's a lot going on with how the censorship is already beginning. But signing to you out of Detroit, as always, salute to all patriots. Keep your head on the swivel. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.